Today's February 28th. It's 9 a.m. on Friday morning. Get out your Hawaiian shirts. Let's talk spring training. It's the Bridge to Buctober podcast.
Friday is Hawaiian Shirt Day. So, you know, if you want to, go ahead and wear a Hawaiian shirt today.
Yins, guys. Thank you for listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast, where we talk all about them Pittsburgh Pirates and that. My name is Josh, and I'm joined, as always, by my brother Jake. I told you I couldn't time that up right.
You nailed it in the pregame.
The pregame, I nailed it. What's up, man?
That's funny. How you doing, man? Enjoy spring training?
Yeah, it was a good time.
Looked like you got a little bit of sun now.
I got a lot of bit of sun. It's wearing off now. I'm not even kidding you. We went Tuesday. I did not take my hoodie in because I'm at spring training, right?
Yeah.
Freezing cold. I was freezing. It was a like 20 mile an hour wind, never let up. Nobody hit a home run. I don't understand what's going on. we like to talk about how all these, it's spring training, the wind's blowing, and they're like, yeah, but there's also days that you don't get anything.
Right.
So you still have to earn your home runs. I'm learning. You're going to get some freebies, but I didn't see any freebies.
But you got to put good swings on the ball still. I don't care.
Yeah. I could see you lifting one, getting one up in the air, and the wind kind of picking it up and taking it out. To me, it's more like that guy hit 450. Oh my gosh. And it's like, yeah, but on a normal day, that's probably 420.
Yeah.
Still a home run. So there are some wind aided home runs. I just couldn't believe that with that much wind, nobody was able to get one out.
Yeah. No one hit a pop up far enough.
No.
For the wind helped carry it.
No, it was a 2-1 game.
Yeah.
It was wild, but it was a good time. So Monday was rained out in Clearwater, so we didn't get to see Skeens versus a stacked Phillies lineup. That would have been awesome. You know what I mean? I went with my buddy who's a Phillies fan, so obviously the stacked Phillies lineup would have been good for him to watch all those guys strike out to Paul Skeens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a good
That's
time. And we'll get through plenty of what I saw. I will say that my headphones died on the way down there. So our first stop Monday morning was Best Buy. I had to buy new headphones. Sony,
That's the worst, man.
your XM4s are better than your XM5s. Get it together.
Did you get the XM5s?
I got the XM5s.
Why
And I'm
wouldn't
like,
you? You know?
well, they don't have the other ones. Plus,
Right.
apparently the XM4s have a battery issue because what I experienced, everybody experiences. The left ear
really?
only lasts like 20 minutes after a couple of years. So, but I mean, you get a couple of years out of them. Like I didn't feel like I got ripped off.
Right.
Like they were unbelievable headphones for 2 years.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, it was a bummer because we had 3 games slated. That's the thing about a short trip. You got 3 Pirate games to go to. One of them gets rained out. You're screwed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now we were able to kind of redeem those tickets and then pay the difference on Thursday to go see Phillies Yankees in Clearwater right before we got to see like 4 or 5 innings. I don't remember when we left, but it was like 4 or 5 innings that we got to see before we had to head over to the airport. So we got to see all the big, Zach Wheeler carve them up a little bit. I'll tell you this. It was hilarious. Rodolfo Castro started it short. Right. And so everybody that comes up, the Phillies fans are, yeah. And then all of a sudden, 9th hitter, shortstop Rodolfo Castro, nothing. Like they didn't do, I'm back in the back of the section clapping. And I'm like, I look at Stroop, I'm like, I'm the only one clapping for Rudy. So then I gave him a big, come on, Rudy. Smacked into a double play. I was like, all right. It's so funny. I was so mad about that trade and we won it. We totally won that trade. It's already over. Bailey Falter has been more of an impact to the Pirates than Rodolfo Castro.
Yeah, for sure.
Without question.
Not even a question.
Yeah. So he did not have a good day. He did hit a hard line drive, but it was right at the shortstop.
Yeah.
His second at bat. But whatever.
I liked Rudy, but yeah, we definitely won that trade for sure.
Yeah. So
some guys change of scenery makes them click. Other guys change of scenery, they fall off the face of the earth.
And he had no path.
No. That's I go back to even like Jose Tabata. Jose Tabata was not a terrible baseball player by any stretch of the imagination. We trade him, just gone.
Mm-hmm.
Never made another major league appearance.
Went to the Dodgers, right?
Even though for some reason I have these memories that he played for the Dodgers during the regular season, but he in fact did not.
Well, there you go. He did not. All right. So what else we got here that was kind of on the beginning of this thing? Oh, I was talking about the cold and the wind and all that.
Mm-hmm.
The next 2 games we went to, the Pirates game and then the Phillies Yankees game, I wore a hoodie with my hood up because I got so much sun on the day I was freezing cold that I was fried. And I was like, we bought sunscreen after that. Why we didn't buy sunscreen before that is, we did the same thing last year, me and you.
Because you're 2 dudes on a trip. You're not thinking about getting sunscreen.
We talked about it. We just didn't do it. So either way, we went to the game with, I had my hoodie on, hood up. And I was like, sun is not hitting this again. But with that wind, and it was like 70 degrees. Like it was cold, but the sun was out.
Yeah.
And I have red hair. I mean, he got burnt too. So necessarily not really a redhead thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a consistent like 15-mile-an-hour wind. It felt like, but it never it wasn't a breeze. It was just constant. I still
Yeah.
can't believe nobody hit a home run. Or even threatened to, really, it felt like.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, the games were fun. I like Lecom. We got to go to Clearwater and see that Phillies game. They've got a nice park there. There are some parks in spring training that aren't nice, that somehow haven't mustered up enough money to get StatCast, but so we don't have a lot of info on some of our guys yet because of these broken poverty franchises like the Braves and the Twins who can't afford StatCast at their spring training facility. So make sure you write your local government about the Atlanta Braves spring training facility because it's terrible. OG's got it. Save the homers for the regular season.
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with that too. Matt Gorski
except for some people.
not do that. Doug says, any fun at Pirate City? No, I'm 0 for 2 at Pirate City. We went there. There was like 3 people on the field. I had no clue who any of them were. No, I'm 0 for 2. I think I'm not there early enough to see anybody there. Like everybody's already over at Lecom by the time I get down to Bradenton. And I'm also there too early for full, like it's mini camp. I'm not even there for full minor league camp yet. So, you're going to have you're going to have a ton of people there after this weekend. Like this weekend, full minor league camp will show up and there'll be tons of people there.
Yeah, and I mean, there was quite a few people there when we were there last year.
Yeah, I think it was just hard
to figure out who was who.
We were there over the weekend, right? We might have been there the weekend that they were showing up. Were we there? No, we weren't either. We did the same sort of thing.
We did Monday to Friday.
Yeah, so it wasn't even full camp yet. But there were more people there last year when we were there. Like they were doing infield drills. There was only people on one field when we went there, and it was cold and windy. And I was like, forget this.
Yeah, they had 3 fields going while we were there.
Yeah,
3 out of the 4.
Yeah, 0 for 2 going to Pirate City. One of these days I'll go over there and it'll be fun. But
it's tricky though, because if you go down too early, the weather's not as nice. You're not seeing as many games. You're basically going to watch Pirate City because as soon as games start, all the major league guys go to Lecom.
Right.
Like they move.
Until, like Doug says, when the young guys all shift over to there, it's busy. So once minor league camp starts and all the young guys are over there and everything, there's a lot to go on there. So OG said Gorski knows. This is when I said Gorski's hitting the homers. He said he knows he's got to smoke them if he's got them, and that's true. Gorski will be a topic here because he is hitting the ball, and it is kind of interesting. There's an outside shot this guy can make. The Pirates opening day roster. There's an outside shot. What does he have to do to have a shot at this?
He's got to outperform anyone that's an option at first base.
Yeah, but what does he got to do numbers? Because here's the thing. Even if he outperforms everybody in spring, let's say he hits 3 more home runs and he's got 6 homers in spring. Triolo's starting at first base, even if he didn't outplay Triolo. What does he have to do to get put on the roster and to start above Jared Triolo? Does it have to be 10 home runs? I think for me, it's 10.
Honestly, like, I could see him making it over Triolo with, I don't want to say continuing what he's doing right now, because what he's doing right now is going to be awfully hard to keep it up all spring. But I think if he outperforms Triolo, he gets the start. Triolo becomes our extra infielder.
I don't think because of the moving pieces. Because all you need is one more guy that maybe not a first baseman, but one more guy that's already on the 40-man who could at least be a good bat. Somebody who can play third base, like say Nick York. You know what I mean? If Nick York's hitting, he had a start at first the other day. Didn't quite go well, but that's one start. And, but if he's okay, but if Triolo's playing first, then Nick York is your guy who can jump in at third base. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not just outplay everybody at the first base position, but it's also what is going to force us to make a 40-man move. And then you got to think, what if DJ Stewart's on that list too? Like, he's killing the ball.
Mm-hmm.
What if he's a guy that forces you to make a 40-man move? Are they going to do two? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see Stewart and Gorski making this. I think Stewart has a little bit longer of a shot than Gorski, just because Gorski's logged enough time at first base where he knows how to play first base. Whereas DJ Stewart has, and I think it was one game in the major leagues at first base. Like, it's a new position for him. I don't think I don't think DJ Stewart cracks the outfield. Just because Jack's doing what he's doing, and you already have the three, Tommy Pham, Cruz, and Reynolds. You only need one more outfielder. I think it's going to end up, if Suwinski keeps swinging the bat, he's going to be the fourth outfielder. He's going to be your platoon with Pham.
Right. He's not going to break through and take a spot away from a guy who's already on the 40-man.
Right.
There's too many moving parts there. And so I think in that case, there's a chance DJ Stewart I think he has an opt-out at like March 23rd, 24th, 25th, something like that. There's like a few guys that have those opt-outs. And I could see them, even if he's still tearing it up, but Suwinski's still playing well, and there's two other guys that are playing well that are in the outfield mix. Like, let's say Palacios and Billy Cook are both playing well too. Then I could see them maybe doing some sort of trade with DJ Stewart just to make sure, like, hey, he's going to opt out and get an opportunity. Let's maybe, make something happen with that and get something for him. And I think you might be able to. Then again, teams may be all the wiser and say, that's all right, he'll opt out. You know what I mean? So that might not be a thing. But yeah, I see in the chat, Bucko Mike says DJ Stewart and Gorski platoon at first. It's just going to be tough because
I don't
of
see that one happen.
Right, just because of the fact that it's, like I said, it's more 40-man. Not that it couldn't, but it's more 40-man moves to make. And Doug says, I think we'll end up with a decent platoon at first. I mean, we have a dozen candidates. The problem is, for me, I don't want a platoon at first base. I just feel like if I can avoid that, I'd much rather platoon in the outfield, and you only have so many roster spots. And so, if you end up with two guys, now, if Gorski's one of them, he can also play outfield. If Billy Cook is one of them, he can also play outfield. I mean, if DJ Stewart ends up playing first base and he's okay, he also can play outfield, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
If it's Frazier, we're in trouble, but he can also play other positions, including outfield. So you could start seeing something like that. But if you're running a platoon out there at first base, I think it's not necessarily the best use of roster spots.
Yeah,
because that means Frazier in that case is also going to have to play third base. Frazier's also going to play short. If let's say Triolo is there, I mean, you have some options as well, but like, I don't know how you're even drawing up. Like, if let's say you draw up a platoon of Gorski and DJ Stewart, right? Let's just draw that up. You're losing one of Frazier or Triolo, and I just don't. Listen, Bucko Mike says release Frazier, Triolo takes his spot. That's an option. I just don't think. I don't think they're going to do that for 1 month.
Right.
They're going to let this first base thing, whoever wins that job, the easy button is Triolo plays first for the first month, and you have either Peguero or Nick York there to be a backup. And it's not a big deal. Like I've said a million times, like, I don't want Nick York there as a backup. It's only for the first month. Then Horwitz comes back and Nick York goes down to get more playing time, but at least he gets a taste of the majors before being sent back down. There's something like that I would do.
There's a shot that Oviedo might start on the IL too. If he starts out on the IL, there's your 40-man move for one of the guys. You know what I mean? Then when he's ready to come back, Horowitz would be ready to come back.
Yeah, he would have to be 60-day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you haven't done that already, will they be able to do retroactive? If not, the time's ticking and you're losing time already.
Which is fair, but at the same time, you're going to limit him to 80 to 100 innings anyway.
Right.
So that's an easy way to get a start on limiting his. And it's a.
But you're talking June. You're talking June at that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless you do it sooner than later.
Yeah, I would imagine as long as he doesn't appear in games, they'll probably be able to retroactive.
Yeah. And I don't know what if he's on the 60, he probably can't pitch in spring.
Mm-hmm. Then
I don't know what their plans are if they do want him to throw a little bit in spring.
He'll come back in April and start his rehab assignment.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because then he can throw for a while in the minors. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know, man. I just don't see them making that many moves. Every time you add somebody to the 40-man, you've got to can somebody. And
not if you're putting them on the IL.
Well, but that's just one, right? So there's a path for Oviedo. If somebody else gets injured, yes, there's another path. But if another pitcher gets injured, you're going to want to replace him with a pitcher.
Right.
So I think, even if it's Oviedo, there's other guys that could have a shot too. You could talk about Ryan Borucki. You know what I mean? Or some of these other Hunter Stratton. Hunter Stratton has an opt-out.
Yeah.
In spring. Like late March opt-out. So if you are like Hunter Stratton could push to get back on this roster. And if he's not added to the 40-man by whatever it is, March 23, 24, 25, I think there's 4 or 5 guys that have opt-outs around that time. So if he's right around there, you know what I mean? He's going to be, Borucki is not on the 40-man. He won't be DFA'd because he's not on the 40-man. And I do not think Borucki has an opt-out. I think when we were looking it up the other day, he does not have an opt-out. So, but Hunter Stratton does, and he could push his way onto this roster. And if he does that, then I think that would be your move for Oviedo. Pitcher for pitcher, a lot of times. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's going to be hard to push his way onto the roster. There's a lot of guys ahead of him. In the bullpen. Our bullpen's pretty crowded right now, I feel like.
Yeah, but there's certainly a way. Because Oviedo won't be there.
Yeah, I'm not. I'll be honest with you. I don't expect Oviedo there, and I still see a full pitching staff.
You have Wentz there then. Because that's the other thing is if Wentz is not going to be there, you've got that 8 spot open. Because we talked about Bednar and Holderman and Santana and Nicholas in the back end and Meza and Ferguson and Majinski, your 2 lefties, and then Majinski being stretched out to be a little more of a long man. And then there's just one more, right? And we talked about Oviedo. We talked about Wentz, who Wentz is out of options. So kind of thought, that there could be a path for him there. But if it doesn't go well in the spring, you know what I mean?
But then there's your roster move for Stratton. I think if Stratton pushes somebody out, he's going to push somebody out of the bullpen, and we're just going to lose that guy. I feel like if Wentz doesn't pitch well enough to make the roster, then he's going to be DFA'd or option. I don't know. No, he does not have options left. We just said that he'll be DFA'd.
Right. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he's off the 40 man, but yeah, unless somebody claims him. And if it doesn't go well, it's likely nobody claims him. But if you're going to DFA him anyway, you may as well just DFA him off the 40 man. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So 356 pounds to fit. Says this has been their issue for years. They buy all these 1-year vets and block others who are ready to play. They don't know how to specialize and commit quality players. I mean, I see this. I think it's important to note that what they've been doing for the last 5 years doesn't apply to this year. They were in rebuild mode. You're going to get 1 year you never sign more than 1 year contracts. Not never, but you normally don't sign more than 1 year contracts because the only reason you're signing those guys is to take a spot from a guy who you don't want to rush up. They actually didn't do a good job at this. They rushed Henry Davis up.
Yeah.
They brought him up far too early. And so there are situations where you're like, that guy's not ready. I don't want to expose him yet. And so you get these 1 year deals to save time. You know what I mean? Specifically pitching. You know, we've seen that a lot. But you do that so that, like, for instance, going and getting Heaney right now, I think is important in that way. So you're not rushing Bubba Chandler. You're not rushing Thomas Harrington, Burroughs, Ashcraft. If these guys, you know what I mean, who have had some injuries, but like if you go through that and you say, hey, we want to make sure that we do right with these guys, then going and getting these 1 year deals, movable pieces, sometimes can be smart. And I think the same thing right now. I mean, I get the Adam Frazier thing, but I would rather, and I've said this before, I would rather have Frazier on this roster than Nick York being a backup. Nick York is young.
Yeah.
He needs to play every day. I don't care what level he's playing at. Keep playing baseball. I understand the idea of learning how to hit major league pitching and all that stuff, but like playing baseball makes you better at baseball.
Yeah.
And so Nick York needs to play. The more he plays, the better he gets. And it doesn't matter what kind of pitching he's facing at that point. But if an opportunity comes up, he better leapfrog Frazier. If Nick Gonzalez goes down, I want to see Nick York at second base. I don't want to see Frazier there and bringing up somebody to back up. Like, just leapfrog him. Give him a run of starts. Let him start for a 15-day IL stint or 20 or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the thing about having a guy like Adam Frazier or any veteran that you'd be signing to that 1 year contract basically as a backup is you have depth on your bench. You have a pinch hitter that can do something late in a game who has a lot of experience. You're not going to put him in expecting him to hit this big dramatic home run, but he can give you a really good quality at bat in a big part of a game that could work out either way. I get that. Like, Adam Frazier isn't the best guy for that, but he also will give you a professional bat where some young guy might just be like in over his head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and playing every once in a while, right? It's not there, right? Kutch said in an interview with Foul Territory, they asked him, how many at-bats do you need this spring? He said, I need 10 at-bats. And I'm ready for the season. Like a veteran, just they've got to, it's different. I need 10 at-bats, he said. And then he said, maybe another 6 or 7, depending on how those 10 at-bats went. Yeah. Like I might need, if it's, as far as game speed, 10 at-bats. But if they didn't go well, I might want a few more just to kind of get going. Yeah. But it's not about that, right? Spring training is not about results in that way, right? We say that all the time. It's about figuring things out. It's about For hitters, it's timing. Once I get my timing, I don't care. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Once I get a couple hits where I squared it up, I'm ready to go. You know what I mean? It's things like that.
Yeah.
Even here, Bucko Mike, he thinks Nicholas starts in AAA. He has options, and this is where I'm going to break you down, dude. And he's been very wild. He's pitched once.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe twice, but I only remember one. Very wild is pretty much the way it goes. A lot of times. It's more impressive if somebody does it, like, looks good their first outing, which we have a lot of, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I see what he's saying here. He's got Rainey in there. Rainey's looked good. Once again, Rainey's pitched. You also have to look at, like, who are these guys facing and what is it that they're doing, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of these guys, if they're pitching at home at Lecom in the 5th inning, 6th inning, you better be good. You know what I mean? If you want to be considered for this roster, you better be good.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot there that's I'm not writing Rainey off. He certainly has shown up, right? He's
Sure.
not throwing as hard as he was in Washington when he was good there, but if he's getting people out, who cares, right? And I think that the more you see these guys, the more they're going to be put into position to pitch against better competition, and the more they get pushed into better competition. This is the Matt Gorski thing too. Right now, he's doing what he's doing, but if they start to consider him, he's going to start playing against different pitchers.
Right.
And they're going to see how he does against guys that are going to be starting in the show.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Some of those top end relievers are going to come in and you're going to say, let's see what you do against a top end reliever who's already been out there 5 times and is starting to get a handle on their stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe they're done working on a new pitch and now they're coming at you.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Let's see if Gorski can still stay hot during those moments, because before that point, it's you don't want to write off things that are good, because either way you got to hit him. You know what I mean? You don't want to write off things that are good, but at the same time, you don't want to overdo it this early. It's very early. There's a lot of things that are going on. Matt Gorski's coming in hot because he knows what he's out there for.
Yeah.
Other guys are out there saying, let me just make sure I have a feel for some things. You know what I mean? It's more going through the motions. It's more for hitters. Like I said, for hitters, it's timing. For other people, it's other things, but it's just early to jump out and say, this guy's going to be an all-star or this guy's getting cut tomorrow. Like it's just not, it's too early for all that.
Right.
Bucko Mike says that Kutch will be 0 for 4 with 6 walks in those 10 plate appearances. And I think if that's the case, like he's probably okay. If he stings it just a couple of times, he doesn't care about that. He's ready to go. The one thing is he's back up to speed. He's still got his eye for the zone. He's already showing that.
Yeah.
And that's what you want him to. But
Speaking of an eye for a zone, but the Jack Suwinski gets walked, starts jogging. They're like, "No, we're gonna challenge," and he just keeps walking. It missed by like a half inch. And he's like, "Nah, it was ball."
Jack Suwinski's looked good, and he's played a lot on the road, which at first I was like, "Dang it, I wanted to see him." Right?
Yeah.
But I think it was Gary that said to me, and like, "Hey, but the fact that he's going on the road, he's facing better pitchers. He's getting the better guys that he's going up against right now. So he's facing, you know what I mean? You're not getting the road guys who don't want to travel. He's going down there and he's facing, you know, whoever it was, who was pitching the other day. Thought I told you who he hit the home run off of. Dylan Lee, who had a 2-something ERA last year in 60 innings out of the bullpen. And it was a lefty. He had a home run off of him. But he's faced some better pitching being that he's gone on the road. And so that's a good thing. You know what I mean? Maybe you'll start to see Gorski do more of that as he, like, if he continues and they're like, hey, this is an actual option, we'll do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe we'll go there. Yeah, I mean, Mike even says Jack is looking good. So the leadoff spot, a lot of times in spring training, I mean, it's honestly just the guy you want to see get the most at bats. You're not going to put a guy in there that's like totally crazy to put him in there. You know what I mean? But like a lot of times you're just going to stack those guys at the top that are going to get 3 at bats and bail. But a guy like Jack who's playing for a spot, I mean, a lot of times
you're also going to see him. Usually the top end pitchers are going to throw first. So you're going to get him his at bats against the topper at the higher end pitching guys. So there's that too. I don't think he's an option. I don't know that he's an option for Derek Shelton to lead off in the regular season. But his legs are looking good.
So here's the thing though. Is that a terrible idea? I mean, he knows the zone. He's going to see a lot of pitches. He actually might be like a decent option for a leadoff, the way that they use the leadoff right now. Like if Kyle Schwarber can lead off and Jack Suwinski can go back to being patient, taking a lot of pitches, letting your team see what he's got. And then he's also very similar to Schwarber in the way that he will ambush a first pitch if it's right there.
Yeah.
But otherwise, he's going to be patient. He's not going to swing at your breaking ball. He's not, you know what I mean? He's going to be able to see what you got. And he knows the zone. And he can run, though. That's the thing.
Stole third base. Was it yesterday?
Yeah. He stole.
I don't know why. But he stole third base.
Second and third yesterday. I think he stole second or third because he had a double. He was like, well, I still want to get my steals in.
Yeah.
I'll just take third. So yeah, no, it is, to be honest with you, like I would be okay with them trying that out. If that's what they're doing, even if they're saying like, we're going to try you here, just be yourself, but we're going to see if it's an option. He is running well. So I think there's something to that. 356 is what I'm going to call you in the chat here, just so I don't have to say the whole 356 pounds to fit, but 356, he's got a lot in here and there's some interesting takes there. And I don't want to pass you up, but like, I do want to point out, like, they're going to play everybody right now. So the whole quit playing Williams and Bay thing, I think that's fair. I would like to see Bay get a lot less time too, but he didn't really get time last year. He wasn't really given an opportunity last year. He was 2 years ago. Williams is now off the 40-man. So you're not going to see Alika Williams just getting the playing time that he did previously because he is now off the 40-man. So I think that's a thing that, you know, to speak to what you're saying. As far as regular season, like, you're not going to see that as much. You are going to see it in spring. You're going to see everybody in spring. Jack Brannigan's going to play a ton, right? And you're not going to see Jack Brannigan in the show. So, I mean, that's the way it is. But yeah, I mean, I understand the Matt Gorski thing. The thing about Matt Gorski is he strikes out like 35% of the time in AA and AAA. Like, I don't know how that translates to the majors well. He's going to have to cut down on those strikeouts. If you've got no other options, like a month to start the season, I could see it if the power's there and you could say, like, let's get a Joey Gallo guy in here for a minute. I don't think he's got quite that power, but he's hitting that way right now. He has more, like, he's good defensively. He can run. Like, I think it was just 2 years ago, he had 20 doubles, 20 homers, and 20 bags. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So
I mean, he's an interesting guy, and
right.
I think it'd be fun if he cracks the roster,
and he's one of those guys that's like, this isn't an experience type thing. Like, the guy's 27 years old, 28 years old by now. I think he's 27 right now. But like, he's kind of like, he's way beyond prospect. He's if if he's going to work out, it's either he's going to work out or he's not. It's a lot like Palacios. You just don't treat him the way that you would treat a prospect.
Right.
So yeah, throw him to the Wolves. He's a guy you would just throw him in and say, go. And, I'm less concerned about the damage it might do because you're 27.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to earn your way here now. So, it's, I don't know. I feel like that's what it is. And I think for him, it's the strikeouts, right? For guys like Alika, and I think Bay with the speed, I think they really believed that he could turn into something. But a guy like Alika, it's defensive first. And it's, once again, I don't want to bring up a guy that I think is going to be a really good player because I don't want to bring him up too early. Alika gets that playing time instead of bringing up a guy like Nick York. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because once again, you just need him to play. He's not going to be a backup. He's going to be a starter. At some point, when he gets a little bit older, you make that transition and you say, all right, you're old enough to just be here. To me, that's like 24, 25 years old. Right? So maybe next year for Nick York, if he hasn't cracked his way into the starting lineup, maybe you just get him up there to get him up there. But at 23 years old, he's still young. Like, he still can play in AAA.
23?
He's 23, I think. Maybe still. Is he? You
I think he's 22.
I thought last year was his age 22. Last year was his age 22 season.
Yeah, he's 22 in 332 days. So
Right.
he'll be 23.
April 2nd birthday, so he'll be 23 this year. He's not quite 23 yet. So it's a young player.
But yeah.
There's no point in coming up and just letting him sit on the bench. He needs to play.
Yeah.
And so this is it right here. Adam's got it. Base speed doesn't matter if you can't get on base. Listen, you're not going to get any argument from me or Jake about G1 Bay and whether he should be rostered or not.
Right.
Like, I'm with you,
Yeah.
Adam. I'm with you, 356. Like, I'm there. Like, we don't need to see Williams and Bay. I'm making a case for Williams of why it would be smart to give Williams at bats maybe last year over somebody else, because Williams sat on this roster for how long without even getting any playing time.
At bat.
Yeah. So I could see that.
Yeah, the only positive I can say about Bay right now is he looks like he ate some sandwiches over the offseason and he's actually growing up a little bit. He come in a little thicker this year.
Yeah, to me, I don't care. I can't stand it when he swings for the fence. Like, what are you doing? Poke the ball backside and use your speed. What are you doing? Quit trying to hit home runs.
I get it.
If you're ever going to be valuable to this team, you need to be on base, and he's not on base.
Yeah.
I do want to speak a little bit about this. This was a point that Jason Kendall made about Mitch Keller, to move Keller and use that money to buy a bat. That might have been an argument in November, but at this point, there's no bat out there that you would buy. So it's kind of moot now. And Mitch Keller's still a veteran leader in that rotation. I'm not bringing up Chandler just to throw him to the Wolves. They're going to slow roll him, and they should. They also have a responsibility to these players to keep them healthy and to not overdo it. And I think that that's the way that it should be handled. There's no need to rush these guys. I get it.
Right.
I get it. Like, that we want the best we can have there, but we also still have a really good starting rotation.
Yeah.
And if you take away Keller to put Chandler in, first off, you've just limited your depth by one. And also, you could have just made it better by removing Bailey Falter and putting Chandler in.
Right.
You know what I mean? The money thing, there's money to be spent, Jake.
Yeah, 15 million's not that much money.
It's a lot. It's a lot for the Pirates. But there's still more to spend. They could have still bought a bat.
Yeah.
That's the big thing.
They could have afforded the Santander contract.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, it's maybe giving them an excuse. Now the IKF 7.5, I could get rid of.
Yeah.
The FAM 4 million, I could get rid of. Now all of a sudden you've got 10.
Yeah.
But
Burn it.
you also need to sign 2 players. So then you don't really get a whole lot better with that money. But there's more money to spend.
Yeah.
I'd pay IKF 7.5 to be a backup for this team.
Yeah.
If IKF was in Frazier's spot, I'd be happy about it.
Yeah.
To have a veteran there who's won a Gold Glove, who's been a major leaguer for quite a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. Gorski's an interesting one because we're all going to talk about him right now, but the guy strikes out way, way, way too much. I'm a guy who doesn't care about strikeouts that much, right?
Mm-hmm.
If Jack Suwinski's going to have a strikeout rate of 30%, I can deal with that. Not 35% in the minors. Did we look actually? I'm actually going to look that up to see. Can we see his strikeout percentage? I'd have to do the math. I'll do it real quick. What do you got on what do you got on Bailey Falter the other day?
Hey, he's still getting the job done. I know, like you told me to try to dig into Savant. I'm looking at the numbers on Savant and 98th percentile in extension, and that's it. That's the only thing in red. The average, it's got a decent walk percentage. So I feel like his is all about location. When he can hit his spots, he can get outs effectively.
Yeah, the other day I thought he looked about as good as you could. I remember saying before he went in there, he stinks early in spring. We saw him last year early in spring. He was terrible. And then, as he gets a feel for things, it seemed like he already had a feel for things.
Yeah.
Like,
like 3 strikeouts.
So
for a guy who doesn't strike a lot of guys out, that's pretty good.
Right. He was looking good. It's 32% last year in AAA. 32% strikeout rate in AAA last year. Now he had 23 homers and 24 doubles. But it's still an on base of 319 and striking out that much. Like your OPS is good because of the doubles and the homers. So like the thump is there. He stole 15 bags, but he also got thrown out 9 times.
What did he do in Double-A?
As far as like the strikeouts?
Yeah, the strikeouts, home runs.
He only had, I guess he had 93 games in 2023. Last year he was in AAA the whole year, right?
Right.
So 93 games the year before that. 17 home runs, 16 doubles, 19 steals. And a 28% strikeout rate. But again, a 296 on base, Jake.
Yeah.
Like you're doing some damage, but you're not even getting on base. Like it'd be one thing if it was like, well, he hits for power and he strikes out, but he also walks. No, he doesn't walk.
Yeah.
He struck out 124 times. He walked 38 times last season. And at 319 on base is not terrible, but when you hit 257, man, I want that on base higher than that.
Yeah.
Like 257 is not a bad average in today's game. And then to have a 320 on base, like get me 340 if you're at 257. Give me 330, 340 on base if you're still hitting 20 homers at that point. I don't know. He could have gotten better too. You know what I'm saying? Like we need to see that. We need to see it out. So I think there's still stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mitch Keller starts today, Jake. The lineup is left field Pham, right field Reynolds, Kutch DH, Endy catching, Key at third, Nick Gonzalez at second, IKF at short, Triolo at first, and then center field Bryce Johnson. Also notable to say, O'Neal Cruz came into the spring training sick.
Yeah.
Here we go again. So he's been going a little bit slow. So,
but he's been playing, so that's a good sign.
I don't mean to pick on you here, 356. I mean, you're coming into our chat, and it looks like it's a lot of complaining right now. I get it. We're all frustrated. They did not trade for an injured player. That was a new injury. It is not. It wasn't an injured, like that surgery was a thing after the trade.
Yeah.
And they also, I don't think Ortiz is their second best pitcher either.
No.
He's our fifth guy going into the season, maybe fourth if he passes up Falter, but he's Cleveland's.
I think he would have been fourth, but
yeah, he's Cleveland's second best this year, according to projections of their rotation, but no. So I don't know. I put a couple things here about, saying Verdugo's still out there. Obviously, I've been on the Verdugo train. If Jack's going to keep hitting, there's no point in bringing in Verdugo. You got your lefty.
Right. Yeah.
So, if they think, and they know more than we do. If they think Jack has some things figured out, you're just going to ride with that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just tough. This team is tough because I just feel like you're just almost there. Right?
Yeah.
I feel like you're almost there. And I don't know, man. It's tough. I'm not, like I said, 356. I don't want to pick. I don't want to pick. You know what I mean? It's just the idea that, like, I know we're all frustrated, but if you can sit back, and this is spring training, we're going to see things. We're going to see guys like Gorski, and you just have to let these things play out.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll start throwing them into, like you said, facing better pitchers, and they'll see what they're really made of.
Right. It's a long game here to see. Like I said, there's multiple layers to this, right? There's spring training home runs. Sometimes are spring training home runs, right? You also got pitchers. Like, I know when Jared Jones went on the mound the other day, which, by the way, looked incredible. He was going to throw that new pitch and then fastball slider, and that's it. He wasn't going to throw anything else. Like, that's what he was working on that day. And, there's certain things that, like, you're going to go out there and you're going to say, all right, I've had trouble getting this pitch where I want it. I've struggled with that feel. So when I get into the game today, I'm going to fight through that. And if you're fighting through it, that means you might not be throwing it well, but you're going to continue to throw it until you get a feel for it.
Yeah.
You might give up a couple hits, and you're saying, I need to make sure that I can get, if you're leaving your fastball down, you're going to say, I need to get that fastball up. I'm going to throw it way more today than I did last start because I need to work on it. That's what happens in spring training.
And the guys on the other side can sometimes figure out what you're working on too, and they go up there sitting on a pitch. So I mean, they're trying to make. That's
what I'm saying. If Matt Gorski's trying to make a roster spot, and there's a guy on the other side who's struggling to get his fastball up, so he continues to throw it right there, then Matt Gorski's going to see more pitches to hit there.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're necessarily doing a whole lot of. They're not. Most of spring training, it's kind of one of those things too. We were standing at the game the other day, and Castellanos was up, and they pitched a certain sequence to him, and it was almost I'm throwing this sequence to get him out, and I was like, I don't really know if that's something that you see a lot of in spring training. You're more or less gonna see. I got these things. I don't even look at the. There was one guy that we were like, oh, if it was this guy, I wouldn't throw anything here. And then he went exactly into that guy's kitchen. And I was like, yeah, because that's the pitches he's been throwing this outing. Like if he needs to work on throwing inside on a lefty, it doesn't matter if that guy's good at hitting inside. You're going to still throw inside on a lefty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to know how to do that. And so I think there's a lot of things that can get kind of confused spring training wise to say, why didn't they attack that guy different? We know he can't hit X. If that's not what you're working on today, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what that guy does. If I threw a good pitch and he takes me yard in spring training, I don't care. I threw a good pitch. That was a successful pitch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like saying, "Oh, I got a broken bat in on the hands, but it dropped over the first baseman's head and I got a base hit." I don't care. I'd much rather turn on that ball and hit a line drive right at the third baseman. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like eventually you want hits to fall, but this is spring. These games and these results don't matter. The results I'm looking at is, oh, that guy grounded out, but he hit it 109. Oh, he had two hits. He hit 2 hits over 105. He was 1 for 2. That's a great day. You know what I mean? Like you want to see him fall, but you also just want to make sure that you're barreling balls up and that you're throwing good pitches and that the location you were going for was there. Who was it the other day that was just talking about their goal for the game was to set up hitters better? Oh, it was Harrington. He was working on setting up hitters. And so like we saw like an unbelievable slider from him, the fastball a tick under what it usually is, right? And so, and not necessarily velo, but when you're looking at like the stuff plus and stuff like that, it was like 94 fastball, but his slider was a 116. You know what I mean? Like it was like, oh shoot, that's like a really good slider. And so he was literally said, well, what I was working on today was just setting up hitters. He's like, I'm not Paul. I'm not Jared. I can't just blow everything by everybody. I have to be able to set guys up. So I was working on a few pitches that were meant just to set guys up. So he might be throwing a fastball off the plate just to set him up to go away, or, you know what I mean? Something like that. Mm-hmm. And so like, 116 stuff plus on the sliders, really good. Then there was another one that came out that was like, oh, 164. And it was like, that was a bad reading. That also had his fastball at like 60. And it's like, no, okay, let's not trust that one. Somebody said if his slider was really 164, that's the greatest slider I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So yeah, but no, Harrington was really exciting. I love Harrington. I'm there to say, like, I love him not just because of his floor. I think that he's underrated. I think that I'm just higher on him. I think at the end of the day, his stuff is a lot better than he doesn't pitch in the upper 90s. So we just think he's less than, and I don't. I really like him.
Yeah.
I really like him. And I was impressed with him last spring. That's where I first saw him. And this spring was a lot of the same stuff. There's just something about him that I just think I think he's sliding a little bit under the radar for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty pumped. But
yeah.
I'm
just
just
early in spring training still, but I'm starting to get a little excited about this roster.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, too early to tell if a hitting coach is doing anything different, you know what I mean? But so far, I mean, we're scoring runs right now. It's just infectious, and I hope it continues.
Yeah.
Getting good at bats, good swings on balls. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of good things to see. There's still a lot to see.
Yes.
Spring training is, 30 games-ish? And some of these guys that are going for jobs are probably going to need all 30 of them. Specifically first base. But the weird thing is like, literally, we're talking about a month. Who's going to get the job for a month?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And who's going to get an opportunity to do more? And I think that's where a lot of this goes, and where I think that the Pirates are going to try their best to be smart about it. You can question whether you think they're capable of that or not. That's fine. As a fan, you can question that.
Sure.
But I would think that if they've got a couple options that are equal, I think I could see something like an opportunity for a Matt Gorski to just say, this is your shot. If we're not sure about a couple different things, maybe we give a guy like an older, 27-year-old an opportunity to just say, you get a month. And if you make the best of that, you might get another opportunity later.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to say, but we'll see how it plays out for the rest of the spring. As far as some of my notes, like Jared Jones was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Another good showing for him. I thought pitching Tuesday was really good. Obviously, Bednar had a couple pitches that got away from him. Otherwise, looked really strong. Colin Holderman seemed to be throwing really well. And then Brian De La Cruz, of all people, hits the only ball that was hit hard off of Holderman, was off Brian De La Cruz and ended up scoring a run. The infield single he gave up was like 70 miles an hour off the bat. Soft, you know what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? It is. I thought both of those guys, and those are two guys that are pretty important. It's hard, they're kind of veteran guys, specifically Bednar is, and we're still like, I don't know, you know what I mean? So,
yeah,
Bednar, I thought he looked good. I thought that a get me over fastball early on needs to be better than that. Missed his spot on that, and it was smacked pretty hard. And then there was another one later on, just totally missed. I think that he was not throwing the splitter. I think he was just, hey, we're going to do fastball, curveball, and go from there. But I thought he looked good. He certainly looks a lot better. Just seeing him in person, watching him throw a bullpen and everything, there's a lot of life there. Like last year, he wore it on his face. He's not a guy he does not much of a poker face on David Bednar. When he's going good, there's a lot of smile.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of smile on David Bednar right now. And that makes you feel good about what he could be into the season. Obviously, we still got to see it. So let's watch how the spring goes. He did give up a run, but it looked like it was mostly just two pitches. He also got, what was it? Other than Jared Jones, got the most swings and misses in that game. So it was something like that. I'm trying to find the game that he pitched in. So, you know what I mean? Like there's still a lot of good there. Yeah, I guess he had 3 swings and misses there. Holderman had 4. That was Holderman I was thinking of. That was getting the swing and miss stuff. And he was looking good. So he did throw a few splitters too. So it wasn't that. Jared Jones got a broken bat on the new pitch. He was pumped about that, obviously. But Tanner Rainey also gave up what he get 2 base runners and then struck out the side or something like that. So he's a guy to watch.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Pirates have options to be good. They really do.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of good on this team.
Yeah, I mean you can see it too. I mean you got a lot of prove it too as well. But the potential's there.
That's what I'm saying. There. Like if it wasn't, you wouldn't even have prove it for. Like I don't care what G1 Bay does. There's no prove it for me.
Yeah,
I'm done.
Yeah.
356 asks a question here. What's your biggest compliment of the Pirates management and coaching staff? And I will take this. And what's your biggest criticism? So obviously the biggest compliment is
pitching development.
Like it's without question. If you're still doubting pitching development, just look into it. Like these guys they've really got something good here. And I've heard they lucked into Skeens. No, they didn't. They could have picked Dylan Cruz. A lot of people would have.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a debate up until the minute of the draft. There was a lot of people that would always say, I'm never using a 1-1 on a pitcher. And the Pirates did it. And if you think that it was totally without development, I'd ask Paul Skeens about it and listen to his interviews. There's development.
Yeah.
Very little. The talent's all there. But
Yeah.
even at the major league level, like he wasn't throwing the splinker to lefties until Radley Haddad said, hey, I think you need to use this against lefties. And he said, okay, because he trusts him. So there's a lot to love about what this front office has done in the pitching department. Like if this continues and Bubba comes up and he's good and Harrington is good and Ashcraft is good, then you can call this a pitching factory. It's there. Like Luis Ortiz at best is our 4th best starting pitcher. And he goes to Cleveland, who is called a pitching factory and is slated to be their number 2 guy. Like, I'm sorry. That's great.
Yeah.
When you've got guys like, and Jared Jones is a big time development story. And you got Skeens, Jones, Keller even was developed here at the major league level. He wasn't what we see now. If he could put it together for a full season, this guy's, that's possibly the best 1, 2, 3. I was going to say in the National League, but I'm not sure about that yet. But like certainly in our division, they're probably already the best in the division. Yeah. So I like some of the arms that Cincinnati has, but it's not 1, 2, 3 like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I gotta agree.
Oh, gee, adding Strom as an assistant is so big. You're talking about a team who's already doing this really well, and then they brought in Strom, who I think will be very key for David Bednar, because we've talked about last year, a lot of his struggles were from tipping pitches, and Brent Strom is supposed to be a guy who identifies that early and eliminates it. And so, very excited to hear about that kind of stuff. But that's my biggest compliment for sure. Their pitching staff seems to not be stopping here. There's a lot coming. Yeah. And you're getting a lot of really good things to see from multiple names throughout the system. And I don't know why that doesn't continue. You know what I mean? Luis Ortiz is another story. Like, just was non-existent until, this group got a hold of him. So, it's, to me, it's there. Like, that's my compliment. So what was the other biggest criticism? Not crossing the finish line on deals. Whether it's a trade or a free agent, we're in on guys, but we're never making it happen. And I would, as much as I like giving the young guys playing time, I would much rather have Jerks and Profar in the outfield than Tommy Pham.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To me, go out and get one of those guys. I mean, to be fair, I'd rather have Verdugo. To be fair, I'd probably rather bring Andy Van Slyke out of retirement and put him in the outfield before I'd play that guy. But
yeah, that's. I'm gonna do it a little bit different. I mean, that's probably my answer. That's what I was thinking about saying the whole time.
We gotta have something.
So I'm gonna try to do something different. For me, it's a lot of in-game management. There's just moves that Derek Shelton makes sometimes, and I'm just like, what? Like, I don't get it. I would have done something different. But that's also, it's hard to be like, if it works, it works. I don't care. But to nitpick at some of this stuff that he does in game season, like in season games and all that stuff, like, I don't know, maybe I'm being a little too picky, but.
Well, let me ask you this along those lines. Like, I let those things go if I've got a player's manager who might make some moves I don't like, but I feel like the players love him and they're going out there and I feel like he's getting the best out of our players. So if you're criticizing and like if you're making a criticism of the decisions, do you think that he's even getting the other part of this thing done? And is that maybe why Derek Shelton is the biggest question mark?
Yeah, I mean that's it. I just don't know. I don't know if I'm all in. I'm not. I'm not all in on Derek Shelton being the manager. But I'm still open to it at the same time because of all the things that I've criticized him for in the past, of not getting the best out of our players, of not putting them in the right situations at times, his opening spring training speech had me going. I was fired up. So,
Oh yeah.
so yeah,
I think you'd be fired.
Early.
Like it's hard for you to not get fired up to a spring training speech. Though I feel like you
That's
would.
fair.
I feel like you would just get excited about anything he said. He could go up there and talk about hot dogs, and you're like, I don't even like hot dogs, but I'm in.
But I want one. But no, like it was all focused on we're gonna make ourselves 1% better every day. We're gonna go out there. We're gonna win. We're gonna win. He kept like win was in there a lot. And, to me, I don't want to say he managed things differently because we didn't have a shot to win, but there's a chance that that's the case. Like,
yeah, I think sometimes when you're in a rebuild, last year he should have been managing to win.
Yes.
But prior to that, you do manage to development sometimes. And my thing on Shelton is I thought last year was his year. And that's where I thought it didn't work, right? Mm-hmm. Prior to that, I mean, we've been talking about it on this show. The chat's been talking about bringing in 1-year deals on guys that aren't really good players, and you know what I mean, playing Bay and like he hasn't had the roster to win. Last year, I felt like was the first time it was like, no, you did have a roster that should have won games.
Yeah,
like there's talent here. Obviously, Andy Haynes played a big part in some of that too. Which leads me to the next thing here, saying Cheryl's asking, too early to see. I think she's still in Bradenton. Too early to see if the new hitting coach has made a difference. I haven't even seen him yet. Like I was there for 2 days, never saw him walking around. That doesn't mean anything, right? I'm not in there, but I haven't really. It is too early. There are some guys.
Is it too early to find a hat that fits Vogelback's head?
Yeah. No. I mean, it doesn't exist. So it doesn't matter how early it is. You're not going to. But no, I think it's too early.
Yeah.
And I think the only way that you're really going to see it is when you start hearing guys talking about it.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's probably going to come. The biggest thing for me, Jake, I want to see what they do with guys on in less than 2 outs. Specifically guys in scoring position. I want to see if they're striking out. That's going to be a big thing.
In the regular season. I'll be honest.
No, I think because this team was so bad, I want to see that in spring.
That's okay.
From the major league players.
Yeah.
The guy, you know what I'm saying? Like I want to see it from the major league players and guys competing for a spot because that's going to be a big thing that we need to focus on that.
Yeah.
We need to put guys in situation who are going to get hits there.
Yeah.
And we had a couple sack flies the other day. I think you could, and some of them were hit on the screws, but yeah, I don't know. It's way too early. It's way too early to really know if somebody's not just on a hot streak or if they're playing well.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or if they've just taken advantage of mistakes. So yeah, too early, but I'm holding out hope that that's a good change.
Yeah.
What you got, Bucko, Mike? Keller in April. Do you just pitch Keller 5-inning stints with Ferguson or Majinski throwing behind him, saving Keller some for the stretch? This is an interesting one because normally I would say no, but I know why you're saying it, right? Because Keller seems to fall apart at a certain point. And that might be a really good idea early on to actually say, hey, Keller, we're going to slow roll you early on.
So for me, it's an off season. That's an off season move. He's got to be conditioned to throw 200 innings. You have to be. Training wheels can't be put on a pitcher who's been in the league for as long as Mitch Keller has. Mitch Keller, I need you to throw 200 innings.
180. Remember, we got to make that adjustment to today's game.
I need you conditioned to be able to throw 200 innings.
Yeah, that's fair. And even if he is health-wise, the stuff is falling off a bit.
That's part of conditioning. That's part of having your body ready for the full regular season. Keller's too old to be putting training wheels on. I'm sorry.
And he's making the money.
Yeah.
To be good and to show up and deliver.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
That's fair. Yeah, you'd be better off doing that with Jones.
I'm not leaving him in the game when he's getting hit past the 5th inning. Like we've done to him in the past.
Right. They've done that in the past. That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
If he's not had a good game, they still leave him in. Let him start the 7th inning for some reason. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's time to be a big boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. There's a lot of things. Henry Davis is stinging it a bit. He's also stealing bases. I watched him steal second. He's running really well.
Hustling, so like you don't have to get him to hustle in the first 90.
No,
you know what I mean?
He
beat out the back end of a double play the other day, and I was listening to it on the radio, and they were like, "Yeah, you don't have to convince him he's got to hustle."
No. But I don't know. I wish I could have been down there longer.
Yeah.
The 2 games just doesn't even feel worth the money. Now, it should have been 3. The rain spoiled 1. But next year, it's going to have to be longer. I can't do that again.
Yeah.
We got to go longer than that.
Yeah.
Because then
I got to not miss next year.
Yeah, that's also true. I mean, you go down there and you're looking to take something away from it. And to be honest with you, like for 2 days, like I just enjoyed a couple baseball games, Jake. There were things that I paid attention to, but like I enjoyed a couple baseball games. I enjoyed semi-warmth. Like, it was warmer than it is here. Okay. Like I remember being down there and saying like, dang it, it's cold. And then we got back to Ohio and I was like, no, it wasn't cold. I can appreciate how it felt down there. But yeah, I don't know. Looking forward to the rest of spring training. Looking forward to seeing some of these things work out. Obviously, I just mentioned Henry. Obviously, Henry and Endy have a lot to play for right now. They're competing. Somebody's going to get that job. And I don't know, man. There's still a lot to see. There's still a lot of spring left. We'll see if Matt Gorski, we're going to be following this Matt Gorski thing for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right, we'll be back at it. What the heck is today?
Friday.
Oh,
Friday.
So we'll be back at it Sunday, and we'll get it out. So I need to get this out for all the audio listeners to listen to today. It's 10:18. We went a little long. I haven't even been looking, man. We just been talking.
Friday, March 7th, Pirates on MLB Network, 30 clubs in 15 days, 3 o'clock if you get a chance to catch it. We'll remind you again Thursday, but just throwing it out there.
Yeah, also Foul Territory, there were some, if you guys check out Foul Territory on YouTube, they were there on, Eric Kratz and AJ Przinsky were there on Tuesday, so there's several interviews there. Baseball is Dead. I forget how you find that, but look up Baseball's Dead podcast. That's with Dallas Braden and Carabas and those guys. They had Skeens, they had Jones and Keller, they had Kutch. So like, there's a lot of interviews to watch if you want to see your guys in some interviews too. There's a lot of things you can watch to see some of those spring training things. And those sometimes are where you hear things like,
about Haig and
about Matt Haig or Brent Strom, or, you know what I'm saying? You're going to start hearing those sort of things pop up here and there.
Yeah.
You're also going to hear a veteran, Andrew McCutcheon, say, I need 10 at bats. They ask him where his favorite place to hit in the lineup is. Did you see that?
I did not.
They said, you've been batting leadoff a lot. What's your favorite place? 6th. And they were like, what? He's like, that way the guys behind me don't make me run. This might be it for him, Jake. This might be it for him.
Yeah.
I believe that. He sounds different. So, all right. We need to get out of here, though. We've been on here long enough. We'll save some for Sunday. Thanks, guys, for all the chats. I actually didn't expect to see a lot.
Yeah.
On a morning show. So,
yeah.
But we got through it, and I think I'm probably going to take a nap today because I still have today off work. I don't know.
have to go until 3, so there's a chance I might take a nap too.
Perfect. All right, let's go Bucks.
Let's go, Buck.
Thanks for listening to my dad and Uncle Jake on the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Bridge2Buctober. Don't forget to subscribe so you know when new episodes are released. Clear the deck, cannonball coming, and let's go Bucks!